Ladies and gentlemen, graduates, it is always a very special privilege for me to present the State of the Seminary address at the graduation ceremony each year. Today, as you heard, 215 of our students are graduating, of which, of course, only 60 are present because so many of them live so far and are not able to be with us today. And as I thought about that, my mind turned to what each of you, the graduates, represents in terms of your particular ministry. Some of you are pastors, some pastors in training, some are involved in Christian NGOs, in missions, some perhaps in denominational leadership of some kind, and some are involved in ministry that others might see as mundane, for example, leading a Bible study group. But all of you are involved in some way. I'm so thrilled that we as a seminary could be part of the plethora of ministries that are represented here today. I trust that our Bible-based, Christ-centered, Spirit-led training has assisted you in the roles that you play or that you will shortly begin to play. But we have other privileges too, and many of them are typified by the exciting developments we have witnessed in the past 12 months here at SATS. Let me outline a few of them. As you may know, private institutions do not receive any subsidy from the government. In addition, the South African Theological Seminary is not tied to any particular denomination, which means we do not receive any denominational support. In essence, this means that when we draw up the budget each year, we have to rely solely on student fees. Yet in the almost 18 years that we have been operating, not a single month has gone by without God enabling us to pay all our bills and all our salaries. The same was true of 2013, and we give Him all the glory for His provision. Furthermore, our board has always had the policy that we will not borrow any money, which means that after 18 years we remain totally debt-free. During 2013, we enrolled over 650 new students, which was 15% up on the previous year. And already so far this year, a further 350. This means that we currently have about 2,000 students in 70 countries. Our postgraduate school continues to expand, and although we've only been accredited for the PhD for about 6.5 years now, we already have over 100 doctoral candidates currently enrolled, with 25 having already graduated, including 5 today. One of these is Spanish from Paraguay. One comes from Mali, and we are privileged to have him with us today. One from Switzerland. One is an American ministering in South Africa, and one is a South African ministering in Kenya. At the master's level, we have a Syrian who has lived through the terrors of Aleppo, ministering faithfully despite horrific circumstances at times. And just yesterday I received an email from him to say that in the last 30 days they've had 15 hours of water. We have a Romanian living in Ghana, a Brit living in France, an American in South Korea, one in the US, an Argentinian, a Kenyan, an Ethiopian, a Zambian, a Norwegian, and 7 South Africans, one of whom lives in Swaziland. This is just amongst the master's graduates today. Isn't God amazing for giving us this amazing international array of students? More and more seminaries in countries where their governments do not allow religious programs to be accredited are approaching us so that their students can earn accredited degrees. In June last year, Dr. Malherbe and I flew to Havana, Cuba, to sign an agreement which will enable local seminaries to train 16 PhD students, hand-picked future church leaders from several denominations through SATS. What a privilege. It was also a privilege to be present at the opening ceremony and to receive favor from the person in charge of religious affairs in what remains a communist government. We are currently preparing to enroll a group of Russian-speaking leaders in the Ukraine, and this past week, some of us have been teaching them via video presentations. We are similarly in discussion with a seminary in the Dominican Republic, while continuing our existing partnerships in many parts of the world. As you may be aware, SATS is the only private institution in South Africa to be accredited in French, and of course in English, and the only seminary in Africa to be accredited in both languages. This past year, we placed a great deal of emphasis on promoting our French programs via our French website and prospectus, our Google ads in French on the internet, visits to Rwanda and 2 to the DRC, where we also flighted a TV ad. We also addressed a number of French pastors in South Africa. Later this year, we plan to visit Benin. In this way, we hope to make a significant contribution towards addressing the dearth of equipped Francophone pastors. Our surprise partnership last year came from a Greek Orthodox seminary in Puerto Rico, which resulted in a couple of their students enrolling for some of our courses in order that they be exposed to an evangelical program. We also concluded several other new partnership agreements, both locally and abroad. During the year, our staff visited the Philippines, Korea, Thailand, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Switzerland, Germany, England, Costa Rica, Argentina, Ethiopia, Kenya, the DRC, Zambia, and Rwanda, as God continued to open new doors for us. As I said, our partnerships often arise as a result of our excellent accreditation. It is noteworthy that when SATS transcripts were submitted to an International Education Research Foundation and the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers in the US, which are 2 of the most frequently used and highly recommended American evaluators, both confirmed SATS degrees as being equivalent to regionally accredited degrees in the USA. We are also listed on the German government's website of institutions that it recognizes. This should give you, as the graduating students, great confidence, because it means that the qualification you have earned carries international recognition. With respect to conferences, last year we decided to use our guest speaker, Tim Hawkins, to train youth and youth leaders in Ghana, where we were able to speak to audiences of up to 600. By making him available to such groups, we were able to reach far more than the 200 or so who usually come to one of our annual conferences. Having undertaken extensive research into how best we can offer our first ever completely online Doctor of Ministry degree, we've recently been awarded a grant from a foundation to write the program, and we hope later this year to apply for accreditation. If we are accredited, we'll be the first, as far as we know, the first institution in the world to have a completely online DMin program. Let me say something now about distance education. International research continues to confirm the move towards distance education, and especially online education. For example, the latest report in the United States says that the proportion of higher education students taking at least one online course is at an all-time high of 33.5%. This comes as more and more people realize the advantages. Namely, students do not want to leave their place of employment, they do not want to leave their families, and they do not want to uproot in order to attend often very much more expensive residential programs. The South African Theological Seminary has continued each year to invest more and more in technology which enhances the distance education students' experience, as well as our human resources. For example, at both the undergrad and the postgrad levels, we now have staff whose job description largely focuses on bringing the seminary closer to the students by keeping in touch with them on a regular basis and on a personal basis. We recently also unveiled our new postgraduate website, which is designed to enhance that goal. So you can see it has been a very busy year. What will the remainder of 2014 hold? Well, apart from going through the very arduous process of reaccreditation, which happens every 6 years, there are many new possibilities to explore. But the most important thing is that we are open to hearing God's voice and responding accordingly. It is very clear from the many opportunities that are coming our way that God has His hand on this seminary, and we look forward to continue serving Him and playing our part in extending His kingdom. We feel privileged to be part of this great work, and we take very seriously the responsibility to train and equip our students. In an age where liberalism has made such inroads into theological training and into the church as a whole, we will not compromise, and we urge you as the graduates to take the same stance as you continue your ministry. It is our privilege to present each of you today with a copy of our latest publication entitled The A to Z of Theology, which we believe is our most significant publication to date. I trust that this will assist you in your ministry. Finally, as each of you graduates today, our hearts will swell with pride. We fully recognize that studying via distance education requires great discipline, and you have shown that. We also know that your family members have had to endure with you, often foregoing important family time in order to see you realize the qualification to which God has called you. To those who are here to celebrate with you today, may we thank you for seeing your spouses, your children, your parents through this great task. Our prayer is that these sacrifices may bear great fruit for the kingdom as you go and put into practice what you have learnt here at SATS. I thank you.